everyone a minute to join. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in again. I'm back today. No puppies to bite my hand the whole time. But I do have my bad. Okay, welcome back for the final episode of Highlighting Heroes Week on Bright Minded. Friday is for the future, staying engaged and positive. I love when Shirley from Beauty to the Street said, wishing is for birthday cakes and shooting stars, but taking action and creating the changes that we want to see is how we get the goals achieved. I want to start by sharing some more submissions that we've received and then share a little bit with you about what's been on my mind as we close this week. Our first fan submission comes from Jose in Chile, who highlighted his fairy godmother. I have one too, Dolly Parton. Jose says his grandmother is a seamstress and she donated 1,000 masks made by her to the workers of an agricultural company in the area where he lives. So that is amazing. And Jose, thank you so much for sending that in. Our next one is from @Cyrus Support, who says her friend is her hero, Lena. So I want to say thank you to her for cooking the food and providing the meals to homeless people and to all who can't afford to buy food right now because they lost their jobs and have no money. She gets up at 5 a.m. every morning to make food for her community for free. And she says she feels inspired to make something that could help people during this dark time and that every life matters and we should take care of one another. I love that so much, and it reminds me of the conversation, again, that I had with Shirley earlier this week about how much a difference one person can make just by caring and being kind to each other. So, Lena, you are a hero. Our last one for today is honoring the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, national organization, and the Indiana local chapter. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Indiana is creating and supplying flyers with information about local mental health resources to bars and restaurants that are still offering carry-out and delivery to be included with every order. This helps at-risk individuals getting connected with much-needed service and overall helps keep people bright-minded. That is so cool. So thank you so much for sharing awareness about help and resources during this time. There are so many people in need, and that's an amazing way to get those resources into their hands. It was so important for me to highlight heroes this week because this crisis was developing super quickly and the impact on what it meant, especially for vulnerable communities who are already too often overlooked. So this was important to highlight those vulnerable communities that even now in this pandemic can be overlooked and how incredible activists and leaders are already responding based on their experience and their passion. What stood out to me this week is that the issues and injustices we talked about aren't new, but the pandemic has highlighted them. What stood out to me this week is that the issues and injustices we talked about aren't new, but the pandemic has highlighted them even more, whether that's inequality when it comes to access to healthcare, financial stability, housing. And you know Happy Hippie has always been about mobilizing young people to confront injustice and do their part by taking action. And this week I'm really honored that we highlighted amazing people working on the grassroots level to confront these injustices and help us learn more about how we can support them in this time and beyond. So many of us have been talking about coming together, and I really wanted to show everyone, no matter your identity or skin color or country of origin, can make a difference. We talked about healthcare with badass pathogens expert who is also a Pakistani American mother of 3 and a Venezuelan doctor who now works in New Orleans, or Chef Andres, who came to this country when he was 21 and grew his business here and around the globe, or people who identify as Native or Indigenous, and women leaders, and so many more this week. So this is all about all of us and the power of change that we can make, and including everyone, especially the people that are underrepresented. So one idea that has come up so much this week is that we're using this time as a wake-up call to really make change, to change these injustices and press forward so we don't go back to the pre-COVID-19 world, a world with really deep inequality. I love that that's kind of been something that we've talked about all week with every guests. So even though all these guests are also unique and so different, the kind of like common thread we've talked about is that this isn't new information. It's just being brought to the front and center, and a spotlight has been put on these issues that already existed through this pandemic. So that's why I'm really, really excited to close out this week talking to people who are pushing us to think about action and the future and how to stay informed, how to stay engaged, and to use our voice to make a difference all the time. So it is time for our first guest, Brandon Harvey, founder of Good Co. Actually found out this morning that Brandon and my friend Jamie from To Write Love on Her Arms that we talked about a couple weeks ago are really good friends. So now I've got this cool friendship circle, and it's just so interesting that in a time like this where we're socially disconnected or socially isolated, we're actually connecting in ways that we may have never done before. So I just thought that was a really cool way that Bright Minded has, again, brought people together. You all know how important it is to think and stay clear and positive, and to celebrate good news when we see it and take action on that good news. So that's why I'm really excited about Brandon Harvey, who is the founder of Good. It's a media company that focuses on helping people feel less overwhelmed and more equipped to make a meaningful difference. So I want to connect Brandon.
Hello, how's it going?
Hi, Brandon.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun, Miley. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so happy that you are here. It is very fun, and I'm just so lucky that every morning I get to start it like this, connecting with people like yourself that are just doing so much good. And something that we've been mentioning a lot is that this isn't just during this time of crisis, but this is all the time. And the news is one of the places I feel like that can be the most misleading and overwhelming, especially at the beginning of this crisis. You just didn't know where to turn to actually get reliable information. So to have something like, you know, your company and what you're doing and highlighting that and how people can be active in positive ways, it's just really, really inspiring.
Well, thank you. And, you know, I've been a fan of you for a long time. And, you know, I know all the words to the climb. You know, I know all that stuff.
Yes.
But I've mostly been a big fan of the way that you use your platform to make a difference. And you were talking about Jamie. And I still remember when you and Jamie did a video in 2012 promoting To Write Love in Her Arms. And, of course, I'm a huge fan of Happy Hippie. And
the way we did that was pretty funny, too, because we, again, I've tried to make good news and doing good really fun and entertaining, because a lot of the time when you think about, you know, getting involved or doing your charity, you think about it as something as your parents would make you do, like through your church when you were a kid, you know, every Christmas, or delivering toys. You didn't have an individualized experience with doing your work. Like, I loved when I talked to Shirley, who I'm obsessed with from Beauty to the Streets. Yesterday, she's like, I couldn't deliver housing. I didn't know how to get them off the street, but I knew how to do makeup. I knew how to do hair. So taking your strengths, taking your passion, and turning that into making big change. The simplest thing that you can do, if it feels overwhelming to do good, is just show someone that you care, even if you start with one person a day. And I love how To Write Love in Her Arms did that. We brought awareness to suicide prevention by having me teach Joaquin Phoenix Lady Gaga dance moves.
That's right, that was it.
And it was like, you know, that was the way to kind of get people to pay attention and go, listen, this is something really serious and really devastating, but if we can bring awareness to it in this way that actually gets people to want to be involved, to go, To Write Love on Our Arms is doing such cool things, I want to dedicate my time and my services. So it's about inspiring people and making this feel like, you know, a lot of these issues, they are really devastating, and it's painful and heartbreaking. But if you can bring light and try to, you know, involve yourself in whatever little way that you have control over, that's just the beginning. That's the way you start. And then you find people that are doing the same, and you start connecting, and you create organizations like you have.
Yeah, I mean, you are doing my job for me right now. That is my favorite idea, just this idea that we all have the ability to make a difference, and we don't have to try to, you know, walk down somebody's lane. I know for myself that I can't, for example, build houses. I would totally wreck a house if I was to build it. So I'm not going to like go on a trip to somewhere and help build houses for people who need houses. My background is in the world of photography and creativity. And so for me, it was always, what can I create that makes a difference using this unique skill set I have, and let the people who, are craftsmen do their thing. And right now it's, doctors and nurses and frontline healthcare workers, they get to do their things. And also, we all just get to do our thing by staying home and making a difference in that way. And like, what a beautiful, easy thing for all of us to do. But we just do the next right thing that's in front of us.
Yeah, a lot of the doctors, they really talked about that too on the show earlier this week, that I was asking, what can we do? And keeping people right now out of their hands, so they are so overwhelmed and, kind of under-resourced at the time that, like you said, staying home, washing our hands, taking care of each other, which should, again, go into our post-
Yes.
COVID-19 world. It should go into our our normal life, whatever normal is. And we don't want to go back to the world that we were in before, because it was totally flawed and, not equal, and all those issues that were already existing, like healthcare or housing, or just how are parents going to feed their children, and now with them not going to school, not getting those meals, which, happens in some of the, even we were talking with Second Harvest, which is in Nashville.
Yeah. Oh, they're amazing. I've worked with them too.
I love them. And so these are issues that are all year round. This isn't just during COVID-19, but, families are wondering, how are they going to put food on the table every day? And there are hungry Americans every day and worldwide. So it's just really, really cool that you're doing this, again, like I said, all the time. And, amidst all the chaos and tragedy of the pandemic, there are so many positive stories. So what's a piece of good news that you've heard recently that just like you loved?
So, this is the world's hardest question, because there is so much good news right now. Every single week at Good, we write down and we collect every single piece of good news that we see out in the world. We genuinely think that we probably see 90% of all the probably not actually, but like a huge percent of the good news that happens. And it's always in a list. And it's the weeks and months where there's the most heartbreak, the most pain, where our list of good news is the longest. And so right now, because there's a lot of heartbreak, there's a lot of anxiety, I think that we're finding more good news than ever, because it comes back to this quote from Mr. Rogers that I love, where he said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. And that's like the central theme for everything we do at Good. And I think Mr. Rogers' mom is right. Like, there are always people who are helping, and there's a lot of bad. So there has to be more good. And so I actually wrote down a few things that are my favorite that I figured I could almost power through. And it does go back to this idea that you were talking about, this idea of people making a difference in their own ways. Like, I think about the fact that like I saw a nail salon in Brentwood, Tennessee, where, they can't bring people, in to do their nails right now, but they want to keep their employees paid and working. And so they're all sewing masks and making PPE. And like, what a beautiful thing for these people who are already so good with detail.